For the last 16 years, I've been living in this beautiful place here, Carp Fisheries. My house is right behind me there. My job is looking after this place, 20 acres, 2 lakes to keep control of. There's enough to do, but I've been here 16 years now, so you kind of get used to it after a while, and you know how to sort of keep on top of the work. We've got a good team of bailiffs around me, so constantly keeping the place trimmed up and looking nice. Mainly, my work mostly is fishery management, maintaining the premises and just generally running the lakes, and that is it, and it's great. Well, from a really young age, from as far back as I can remember, my dad and one of his best mates, John, they used to go off sea fishing all the time, and I always obviously was chomping at the bit to go with them. Anything to get out and go fishing, and never really knew a lot about it. I just knew I wanted to go. It sounded adventurous, and they were probably sea fishing off some pier somewhere, and they did take me. They took me on a few occasions. When I was there, I was in my own little world, my own little adventure, and obviously they had to keep an eye on me because if it was on the pier, I'd be climbing over the railings, under the pier, everywhere, you know. But I was absolutely hooked from then. I just wanted to go fishing all the time. And I used to beg them to take me. So that'd probably be my sort of early age fishing, you know. My dad wasn't so much as an inspiration in fishing because he used to go with his mate John, and it was kind of like a thing they'd done at weekends when they got a bit of time off of work. Obviously, they taught me what I knew about how to tie or how to cast out a rod on a pier and stuff like that. But then as I moved on and got into my fishing, anything angling wise, any literature or any TV programmes, I was on it. Out of town, it's sort of showing my age now, but I can barely remember it, with Jack Hargreaves. As soon as he got onto the fishing part of the programme, I was like hooked on it. I was full attention. And then later on, Johnny Wilson, I probably watched everything that he ever put on TV, to be honest, over and over again. And then obviously, once you sort of start reading about the legendary anglers like Hutchinson and Maddox and people like that, you know, I would read and be influenced by anything that they'd done or said. And as time went on, you know, Terry Hearn became a good friend of mine and still is. He caught the British record at 22 years ago now, at 55.13. That's still an enormous fish today, absolutely colossal fish. That was 22 years ago. I looked up to Terry. He was younger than me, but he was so inspirational and still is today. And I'm pleased to say he's a very good friend of mine. And I'll admit it, I used to look up to Terry and still do. He's a fantastic angler and probably one of my biggest inspirations in carp angling. You know, there is no favourite time all year, but if you're talking about specific times that I suppose they are my favourite times really. The spring, early spring is a really good time to be out for obvious reasons. The fish have just woke up from their light slumber. They're starting to feed up and get big, and they look great. And then later on in the autumn, I absolutely love the autumn. The middle of the summer is a little bit, when it's baking hot and nothing's happening, the fish are all spawned out. It's not my greatest time, but I would say spring and autumn. I hate to say it, but I do often feel like I'm knackered without my phone nowadays, and I know it's not good, but I think we're all sort of guilty of it. If I ain't got my phone, I can't keep in touch with the world no more. I need to know what's going on at home. I need to know what's going on at my lakes. I need to know what's going on all over the place, basically, on every lake, you know, everything that I'm interested in. And long ago on the days now where I just sort of lay there and read a book, I tend to fall asleep just checking out stuff on the internet. And as wrong as it is today, and that's how it is today. With my phone, I need a charger. So I've got a really good power pack, definitely need that. I suppose, as I've got older, my eyesight's got less and less and less with the close-up stuff, so I need my glasses. If I haven't got my phone, my charger, my glasses, I feel pretty incomplete at the moment. I try to eat pretty clean, pretty healthy most of the time. My food's pretty standard. I try to spice it up as much as I can. Generally, I eat sort of brown rice and chicken twice a day with a bag of spinach thrown in, some chillies, bit of garlic. Don't always have a breakfast on the bank. Drink lots of coffee. I must cut down and change it to green tea. I've got lots of memorable sessions. I've got one most recently last year, but if we're talking about real memorable, my first UK 40, I think, that must be nearly 20 years ago at Sutton at home. Yeah, it was start of the season over there. Quite warm, like today. I'd moved into this swim and I'd seen a small fish roll. I remember really being tired because it takes it out of Sutton, starting at 4 in the morning and fishing till 10:30 at night. I remember falling asleep, seeing a small fish roll over my right hand rod. And I remember thinking, I'll probably have that. Don't worry, that'll be on the end of my line soon. Anyway, I fell asleep. Next thing I know, I'm awake playing a carp. And I remember saying to one of my mates, they rushed round to give me a hand with the net and all that. I said, don't worry, it's just one of the little ones, like, you know. And then Heart-tailed Gertie, the king of the lake, rolled up on the surface, and that's my first UK 40, and I'm never going to forget that. It is like, and was, the king of the lake, and one of the most difficult to catch, and it was my first UK 40. So, yeah, my most memorable session. That's not hard, that one. I've got an old friend of mine, Paul Pinan, proper old school angler, been around since like I can ever remember. Like, you know, he's been fishing a long time. He's fished everywhere, all like Pit 4 and Savayas, all over the place. Proper old school angler, but he is the most scruffiest sod you'd ever come across. I fished with him once over on Nazim Meads, and his tackle's like it's just been thrown off out of the car onto the bank. His rods are set up. They're all. I'm not OCD on the bank. I'm tidy, you know. This Paul, sorry to say it, mate, you're a flipping tramp on the bank. His rods were sort of not level, like that and like that. His bobbins were being twisted. And one day when he set up, they were so blatantly in a mess. I even fiddled with them more so that they were really at silly angles. I mean, I twisted the front buzz bar around. I twisted his back then swingers right out and up in the air. Just made the right hash of it. Paul was fiddling about setting up the rest of his stuff, and then he come and sat down beside me next to his rods and just sat there, looked at them and was quite content. Like, you know, me, I would have had to take it all apart and do it again. At the end of the day, he's more interested in what's out there in the lake and what catches the fish than what his tackle looks like. Well, anyone that knows me well will know that I'm a prankster. I'm always mucking about on the lake. I could think of I could write a little book on the pranks and tricks that I've done. I've done everything from false hands to masks, smoke grenades, thunder flashes, all sorts. I mean, you know, typical example, when we was fishing down at Sutton, we had to sort of find places to sleep at night. Because we weren't allowed to stay on site, we weren't allowed in the car park, and you had to be at the gate for 4 o'clock. We used to do a draw every morning. So we used to always look for little places. We used to try and find a little lair somewhere where we could just back the car in and have a sleep. And a couple of my mates, Jay and Neil, they told me they'd found this new area, and I knew exactly where it was. It weren't too far from Sutton, and it was like a little track that went off of the main road into like a little copse of trees. And they told me they were fishing the next morning, so that night they'd gone to lay up in their lair for the night, you know. I think they'd actually done the day, so they were already tired from the night before. They may have even done a couple of days on the trot, I can't remember, but I know they was fishing the next day and they were going in their lair that night. So around about midnight, they would pull into there absolutely exhausted and just sit in the front seats of the car and go to sleep till about 3:30 and then drive to Sutton. So I was going the next morning and I thought, "Cry, there's a prank to be played here. I know exactly where they'll be." So I drove down to where I thought they were, got out of the car and crept through the track into the forest, and there's their car all steamed up. A pair of them snoring their heads off with their heads against the windows of the car. Other people might not find it funny, but I thought it was funny. One of my kids had this little toy, it was like an alien, and the antennae that come off its head had little eyes on it, and they all lit up. And they'd done all these like Space Invader noises, and all these lights went off and everything. I just, as quietly as I could, crept round to the front windscreen of the car, and I was biting my tongue. I could see them both with their heads against the side windows, fast asleep, and I just put the alien in the middle of the windscreen and turned it on, and it scared the flipping life out of them. They jumped up thinking, what the hell is going on? There's all these, you can imagine if you've not slept for like 2 days properly and all you want to do is sleep, and then you've got this alien head on the windscreen screaming and hollering at you. To be fair, they were freaked out. They didn't know what it was. I think he went to start the car up. I thought it was funny anyway. That's just one of many. Favourite Trakker product at the moment is a V2 brolly system. It is absolutely outstanding. It's served me well so far this year. So quick for me to take down and set up, and light, and got the Mozzie front on it. I can't praise it enough. It's just such a good bit of kit, especially when you're fishing big waters like Burfield and that. I need to get in a swim. I need to set the bivvy up as quick as I can, and take it down and pack it away as quick as I can. And once it's packed away, it weighs nothing. It takes up no room. It's so light and versatile. It's just, yeah, that is an amazing bit of kit. That's my favourite. Well, I've slowly noticed all the magazines slowly disappearing. The magazines for the last 20 odd years have been our sort of source of knowing what's going on, and you had to wait until they came out. And now it's going so fast. I mean, you know, today's news is already old news, like, you know, and I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to move with the times. I'm trying to keep up to date with it all. As I said before, I can't go anywhere without my phone now, which I'm not happy about, but it's true. I think it's a good thing. I mean, yeah, for up-to-date information and for up-to-date gossip, up-to-date news, you know, I don't think you can beat it, really. Just don't know where it's all going to end. It's just going too quick. The most obvious reason is just to be out in the beautiful countryside, really. I think that was one of the things with me. I've always been an outdoors person. I absolutely love being outside. I've spent most of my adult life outside, you know, from 8 years in the army to more or less bivvying up every night outside with the mozzies and God knows what. I just love being outside, and I love the fresh air. I love waking up with nature. Even in the winter, you get the most beautiful mornings, and you know, it's just, I don't know, when you're out on your own and you've got your own little thing going, it really is, it's just so relaxing, so nice, and it's just a pleasure to be out, breathing the fresh air and taking the wildlife. I love it. I think that in itself, and add the fishing as a bonus, is why you should go.